part 2 of the notes B1, using the distributive property and combining like terms to simplify expressions. In the previous video, we talked about the distributive property and using that to simplify expressions. In this one, we're talking about using like terms and combining like terms in order to simplify expressions. So before we could even combine like terms, we have to know what like terms are. So what we're first going to do is look at this first example over here. It says circle all the terms that are like terms with the expression 12b. So I'm going to give you guys a couple examples of like terms. So do not write this down. You could write down if you want to, but I'm going to use a space in the U try 4 for me to do this because that's the space that I have. So if I gave you 2x, if I gave you 5x, if I gave you 12.1x, 5 over 12x, and let's just say, I'll just make something up, 3.1415x. These are all like terms. They're all like terms because if I look at each one of these, all of them have an x in common. All of them have an x in common, so they'd be like terms. So that's what makes them like terms. But what if, say, I have 2x and then 3x, so same thing. And then how about if I have 12x to the second power, and let's say if I have 3.14xy. And if I look at this, for some people, they might think that these might be like terms because this has an x, that has an x, that has an x, and that has an x. And you would be right that they all have x's. However, if you look right here, these only have an x with the number, right? Only have an x with the number. This one has an x, but the x has a power of 2. So that means that this would not be like terms. So because that has a power of 2, this isn't like terms with a 2x and a 3x. They're not the same. You can't combine these. They're separate things. Then this one I have 3.14x, so that has an x, but this has the y with it as well. So that's what makes it not a like term because it only has to be an x. They have to be matching. These will only be like terms if these both have an x and y. So if it was like this, my bad, if it was like this, they both had an x and y like that, then they would be matching. So they will all be matching, because they both have an x and y with a number, then they would be like terms. So using that idea, if I look at 12b, I know that I see a b right here. So I'm going to look at all the ones that have a b. So I know that this has a b. This has a b too. That has a b. That has a b. That has a b. That has a b. And then I'm just highlighting everything that has a b. That's what I'm first identifying. But now I'm going to go ahead and cross out options that has anything or any other variable with b or a b with a different power. So right over here, the b does not have an exponent. So there shouldn't be an exponent in the options that I'm selecting. So if I look at this option right here, it's a b all by itself. So that one is an option, so I'm going to circle it. If I look at this option, that has an exponent of a 2. So that means it's not an option. That's just a b, so that'll be an option. That would be a like term. This has an exponent of a 3, so it is not an option. That's a b, that's all by itself, so that's an option. It doesn't matter if there's a fraction in front. It's still a number, so that's an option. The b is all by itself, so that's an option. This one has the letter a with it, so that is not an option. This has an exponent of 2, so that is not an option. And then this b has a k with it, so that is not an option. So only the ones that I've circled are like terms. So those are the only like terms that we have in this problem. All right, so go ahead, try the U-try. You can pause the video, try the U-try, circle all the like terms that are with the expression 4.78 k to the second power. And then once you're done, you can move on. All right, so what we're going to actually do is now we're going to use like terms and we're going to combine them. When combining like terms, all it really is just adding and subtracting. So I'm going to go through example 5. It says simplified expression by CLT. That means combine like terms. I just use that for short. So I'm going to circle all the like terms that have a y and then underline all the like terms that have an x. All right, so I'm going to circle my negative y. Then I'm going to circle a positive 6y. Then I'm going to underline the negative 9x and underline the positive 12x. Notice that I circled the negative in front of the y. So I circled the negative in front of the y, and I circled the positive 6 in front of that y. I underlined the negative 9 in front of the x, underline the positive 12 in front of the x as well. Then what I'm going to do, just to make it more organized, is I'm going to rewrite it with everything right next to each other. So it'll be negative 9x plus 12x, and then negative y plus 6y. So I'm just rewriting it. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is when I'm adding like terms, all I'm really doing is just adding or subtracting. So this is negative 9x plus 12x. So all I'm really doing is negative 9 plus 12. Negative 9 plus 12. So if I do negative 9 plus 12, I know that I should get positive 3x. That's just addition. Then what this is, I don't see any number in front of the y. So remember the invisible math. If there's a variable that's all by itself, like this, that's the same thing as 1x or 1y. So there's always an invisible 1 in front. So if I were to add these, negative 1 plus 6, so that's really just negative 1 plus 6. If I add that, you should get positive 5y. And then that's it. I can't combine anything, so that's the simplest form. And then I'm done with that problem. That's all we're doing. Try the U-try number 5. Once you're done with that, move on. Hit pause if you need to. All right. Example 6. Same exact process. These problems will get larger, but the exact same process. What I'm going to do, I'm going to circle all the like terms with my y, underline everything that has an x, maybe box everything that's just a number. So I'm going to just go. I see an 8x, so I'm going to go ahead and underline that. I'm going to look and see, do I have another term with an x only in it? So I'm going to go, well, I see a 3x, so I'm going to go ahead and underline that. Now I have all my x's accounted for. Now I'm going to look, all right, the next term that I have has a y. So I'm going to go ahead and circle that. Then I'm going to go through and see, all right, do I have another term with a y? Well, I see a 13y, so I'm going to circle that. Now I'm going to go through again because I have things that I haven't underlined or circled. So now I'm just going to box it. So I'm going to go, the next term that I see is the number 7. So I'm going to box that. Then the next one I see is a negative 3. And now I'm just going to rewrite everything next to each other so it makes it a little bit easier for me. So I have a 8x plus a 3x. Then I have a negative 9y plus a 13y. Then I have a positive 7 minus 3. So I'm just grouping stuff together so that makes it easier for me. Then now this is just really adding and subtracting. So 8x plus 3x's. So if you have $8 and you get $3 more, that's $11 or 11x. Then I'm going to work on my y's. I have negative 9y plus 13y. So just negative 9 plus 13. When you add that, you should get positive 4y. And then lastly, 7 minus 3. When you do that, you should get a positive 4. I can't combine anything, so that's how I know I'm done. So that's my final answer. Pause the video, try number 6. Once you're done, go on and move on to example number 7. The next part is using the distributive property and combine like terms in one problem. So this is where it gets a little bit more difficult. We're using 2 different skills in one problem. So what we're going to do is every time we see parentheses, we're going to distribute. Every time we see parentheses, we're going to distribute. All right, so this one, in example 7, it's a simplified expression. So I'm going to use the distributive property. I'm going to circle the number in front of the parentheses and then draw my distribution arrows. Remember, parentheses always mean multiply. Always mean multiply. So I'm going to multiply everything on the inside by that number on the outside. So it'd be 2 times 5x minus 2 times 2. That's what I'm doing. Multiply everything on the inside. I'm not going to multiply this negative 3x with 2 because it's not inside of these parentheses. It's not inside. So I'm just going to bring down that negative 3x. Then I'm just going to multiply. 2 times 5 is 10x. I know that 2 times 2 is 4. Bring down that minus 3x. And now I'm just going to combine like terms. So if I use the same skills as before, I have a 10x and a negative 3x. If you want, you could rewrite them right next to each other if you want. So I have 10x minus 3x, then minus that 4. After I do that, I know that 10x minus 3x is 7x, and then minus 4. I can't combine anything, so that's how I know I'm done. So that expression at the beginning simplifies to 7x minus 4. Okay. Pause the video, try number 7, and then once you're done, you can move on. Okay. Example 8. Same exact process. These problems are just getting a little bit more difficult, but it's the same skills. So I'm going to use the distributive property. Every time I see parentheses, I'm going to multiply. So I'm going to circle the number out in front, draw my distribution arrows. It's 4 times 3 minus 4 times 2x. Then bring down everything else, plus 3x minus 10. I'm going to go ahead and multiply. I know that 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 2 is 8. Bring down everything else. Now I'm going to underline everything that has an X or circle it. It really doesn't matter. You can choose your own method. So if I circle it, negative 8x, positive 3x, and then I'll underline everything that doesn't have a variable. And then you could just group them together. Again, I'm doing this extra work only if you need it. So negative 8x plus 3x. Then positive 12. Remember, if there's no sign in front of the number, it's always positive. Minus 10. And then I'll just combine like terms. I know that negative 8x plus 3x is negative 5x. And then 12 minus 10 is positive 2. I can't simplify that any further, so I know I'm done. Pause the video, try number 8. Once you're done, go on to example number 9. Okay. All right, example number 9 is probably going to be the hardest one out of all of these. But we do have all the skills that we need to solve this. So every time I see parentheses, that means multiply. Every time I see parentheses, that means multiply. That also means distribute. Same thing. So in this one, I have 2 sets of parentheses. So that means I'm going to use the distributive property twice. So that's what makes this a little bit more difficult. So I'm going to circle the number out in front, draw my distribution arrows. Exact same process. I don't see a number in front of the parentheses. So there's always an invisible 1 in front. So I'm going to circle that invisible 1 and draw my distribution arrows. And then now I'm just going to apply the distributive property. So if I look at this first set of parentheses, it'll be 9 times 2x plus 9 times 1. Just like that. Then If I look at the second set of parentheses, that's a -1. So I'm writing -1 times a positive 3x. Then then I'm going to have a double negative. So negative, negative, right? Because -1 and -2. Then it'd be -1 times 2. And now I'm just going to go ahead and do my multiplication. So if I had 9 times 2, I know that's 18x. 9 times 1, that's 9. -1 times -1 times 3 is a -3. Then bring down my x. I have 2 negatives, so that's a positive. 1 times 2 is 2. And then once you've done this, now we're just combining like terms. You could circle everything that has an x, circle the sign as well, underline everything that doesn't have a variable or doesn't have a letter. You could regroup them if you need to. And then once you have that, combine like terms. So just adding and subtracting at this point. 18x minus 3x is 15x. 9 plus 2 is 11. I can't combine anything. So that's how I know I'm done. Try number 9. Once you're done with that problem, raise your hand. I'll come by and check it. I'll stamp it. I'll check all of them, and I'll stamp it right here. This is where I'll stamp, and give you credit for doing all the U tries. Once you're done with that, then you go on IXL.